John Murray, Epistle to the Romans, 约翰慕理罗马人书注释 Session 21 第21讲第一章第28节 Chapter 1 verse 28 Continued 我们继续来看这些人觉得认识神是不值得他们所注意的 They did not cherish the knowledge of God and they did not consider God worthy of such thought and attention 他们不觉得要花时间去思想去注意珍贵认识神 The corresponding retribution is that 与这个相配的报应就是 God gave them over to a reprobate mind 上帝任凭他们或者放弃他们在一种的败坏的心思意念中中文是这样说的任凭他们存邪僻的心 To a mind that is rejected because deemed worthless 上帝拒绝这种的心思意念因为上帝认为这个是毫无价值的心思意念参考哥林多前书9章27节哥林多后书13章5、6、7节提摩太后书3章8节提多书1章16节希伯来书6章8节 A reprobate mind is therefore one abandoned or rejected of God 邪僻的心就是一个上帝所放弃所拒绝的心思意念 and therefore not fit for any activity worthy of approbation or esteem 因此不配做任何值得赞许的尊重的事情 The judgment of God falls upon the seat of thought and action 上帝的审判是审判人思想跟行为的那个的重心或者那个出发点 To do those things which are not fitting 行那些不合理的事 is explanatory of what a reprobate mind entails 就解释一个邪僻的心是怎么的一个心是包含什么就是行不合理的事 and shows that the mind as conceived of by the apostle is concerned with action as well as with thought 这里就表示出保罗认为心思意念不单单是与思想有关的也是与行为有关的 Verses 29 to 31第29到第31节 In these verses is the catalog of vices 这里就有各种恶习各种罪行的一览表It would be artificial to try to discover a system of classification in this list 若要在这个列单中找出一个分类的系统是牵强的The apostle's mind ranges freely over the vices which came within his own observation. 使徒保罗很自由的来中览他所观察到的不同的罪行in his contact with the various races and conditions of men. 就是因为他接触到各种不同的种族人各种不同的情况 And no doubt also his mind ranged freely among the many sources of information available to him, respecting the moral state of the nations in his own generation and in those that preceded 毫无疑问的他的思想他的思想也在考虑到各种不同的他所有的资讯的来源关于他那一代或者历史上的列国的道德的状态 We are impressed with the length of the list and the variety of vice 我们看到这个列单很长这个罪行又是有各种各样的这个令我们惊讶 But after all, this is only a selection 不过就算这样子只不过是有选择性的一个列单而已 Elsewhere he mentions other vices which are not included in this enumeration 那其他经文保罗提到其他的罪行在这里没有包含的例如加拉太书5章19到21节 The extent of the depravity is evident from the opening clause being filled with all unrighteousness在29节一开始的这句充满了各样的不义就表达出人的败坏是延伸到怎么一个程度 Unrighteousness is a generic term 不义是一个一般性的类型and suggests that it is the genus of which the other vices are specifications 这里暗示着不义就是那个的种类其他的恶行是个别不同的单元 But whether this be so or not, 无论如何 the stress falls upon the completeness with which unrighteousness had come to exercise control over the subject. 重点就是不义是怎么完全的、完整的控制了这些人。They were filled to the brim with all forms of unrighteousness. 他们呢，里面呢充满着各种的不义，满到爆满。And the addition of the terms wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness accentuates the totality of the depravity involved. 而这里又加上妒忌、凶杀对不对？这里加上邪恶、贪婪、恶毒。就强调这种的败坏是整个的人的败坏 and the intensity with which it has been cultivated. 人又怎么样的强烈的去不断的滋养这种的败坏。It is a picture of the utmost degeneracy. 这里所描述的图画是极度的败坏。While we may not be warranted in discovering a system of classification in the order which the apostles follows, 我们不可以从保罗的整个的次序来找出一个分类的系统，这个是没有理由的啊。Yet the change of construction at 3 points may indicate that vices have nevertheless their appropriate groupings. 可是呢，在有3个地方，保罗的作句。但是有3个地方呢，保罗的造句呢有一点的改变，所以指出呢这些的罪行呢，毕竟有他们的恰当的分类的。Unrighteousness, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness constituted one group. 不义、邪恶、贪婪、恶毒是一组。Envy, murder, strife, deceit, malignity constituting another group of kindred character. 而妒忌、凶杀、争竞、诡诈和毒恨又是另外一个相似本，又是另外一组有类似的性质的。And the other characterizations to the end of verse 21. 而其他的从第30节一直到31节，结束那里呢，a series of vices of various complexions 有各种不同的色彩的罪行。In any case, 不论如何 ，as we scan the whole list， 我们查看整个的列单的时候呢 ，we cannot but be impressed with the apostles' insight into the depravity of human nature as apostatized from God。我们觉得很惊讶，使徒保罗是那么的清楚的看到人从上帝离经叛道的时候，人性的败坏。The severity of his assessment of these moral conditions， 我们也很惊讶保罗是如何的严厉的评估这些道德的情况 ，and the breadth of his knowledge respecting the concrete ways in which human depravity came to expression。而且保罗的知识那么的广，他看到人的败坏是用各种不同的具体的方法表达出来。Verse 32， 第32节。This concluding verse may also be well regarded as the culminating indictment against those whom the apostle has been describing. 这里最后一节呢，我们也可以把它认为是最高峰的一个的定罪。使徒保罗在这里描述这些的人呢，他的定罪到了一个的高峰。The pronoun with which the verse begins， 第32节开始的是一个的代名词，他们 draws attention to the character of the persons concerned， 就让我们注意到这些人的品格 ，they are of such a character that， 这个意思就是他们是这样的品格，因此 is its force， 这个就是他们的意思 ，and is to be connected with the last clause of the verse， 这个他们呢就要跟最后的分句连在一起。The extreme gravity of their offense consists in this， 他们的罪是极度的严重，在这里看出。That they consent with them that practice these vices， 他们同意别人行这些事。They offer their plaudits to the perpetrators of vice， 他们对那些当事人犯罪的当事人呢，提供了赞扬、喝彩。That is the specific character which is now in view。现在保罗考虑就是这种的品格。The ordinance of God， 上帝的判定或者上帝的典章。In this case， 在这里，上帝的典章或者判定 is the judicial ordinance of God， 就是上帝的法律上所命定的。It is expressly defined as such in the succeeding clause。在下面那个短句呢，就明文的做出定义 that they that practice such things are worthy of death。就是什么的典章呢？行这些事是怎么样的典章呢？就是行这样事的人是当死的。The knowledge of this ordinance is predicated of the people concerned。保罗说，这些人呢是有这个典章、这个判定的知识的。The death referred to cannot reasonably be restricted to temporal death。这里所讲的死，合理的解释呢，就不仅仅是今生的身体的死。The Greeks themselves taught a doctrine of retribution for the wicked after death。就算是希腊人本身呢，也教导一种死之后的恶人的报应。And the apostle must have taken this into account in the statement of that which the credited. And the apostle must have taken this into account in the statement of that which he credited the nations with knowing。所以当保罗说这些外邦人列国都知道的事情的时候呢，他肯定考虑到这方面，就是说连希腊人都有一种报应的教义。Furthermore， 再进一步的来看， he is here defining that in which the ordinance of God consists。 保罗在这里为上帝的判定做出一个定义 and he cannot in terms of his own teaching elsewhere confine it to the judgment of temporal death。 根据他其他经文的教导呢，他不可能把这个的命定呢限制于今生的死。 Knowledge of God's penal judgment as it issues in the torments of the life to come is recognized therefore by the apostle as belonging to those with whom he is now concerned。 所以保罗对现在他在讲的这些的人呢，他看到这些人是知道上帝法律上的审判的，结果就是来生的折磨。 The question arises, however， 但是这里显生的问题就是 whether this knowledge is conceived of as belonging to them in a state of abandoned degeneracy。 这里的问题是，这种的对神的知识是指这些人在上帝放弃的任凭的这种败坏情况里他们有的知识呢， or as knowledge which they once possessed but had now lost， 乃是他们以前有的一种的知识，那现在失去了这个知识呢？参考第21节。这个问题是，这个知识有两种的解释。 Considerations could be pleaded in support of the latter alternative。 我们可以提出理由支持第二个选择，就是他们以前有这个知识，现在失去了。 The tense used could be rendered having known。 这里的时态可以是以前知道 having known， 以前知道 with the implication that they no longer knew the same。 这个含义就是他们现在不再知道了。 Furthermore, the description given of the judicial blindness with which they had been inflicted。 不但如此，保罗这里描述现在上帝加在他们身上一种对法律的盲目。21、22、23、28节 would not appear to comport with any active consciousness of the judicial ordinance of God， 就好像不符合他们有一种正面的、积极的对上帝的法律上的制定的一种的意识。就是说，很有可能呢是指21到23节的这个的知识，但是but there are weighty reasons for thinking that the knowledge credited is not merely that of an earlier stage of their career。 这里有很重要的理由让我们认为呢，这里所讲的认识上帝呢，不仅仅是在讲他们人生较早的那种的知识，有4方面的理由。 Number 1， 第一个理由， The tense used is quite compatible with the thought that an existing state of knowledge is in view。 这里所用的时态呢，很符合说一种现在还是存在的一种的知识的状态。 It can designate a state contemporaneous with the actions referred to in the latter part of the verse。 这里可以指一种的状态是与这节经文31节下半的行为呢是同时的。第一方面的理由。Number two， 第二方面的理由。The knowledge of God's judicial ordinance is, in this passage, rather obviously intended to throw into relief the aggravated perversity of the condition. 这里，他们认识上帝的判定，很明显的用意就是要显出他们的状态是那么的严重，那么的邪僻。If this knowledge is relegated to the past, 假如这里的认识上帝是指过去的 then the relevance of allusion to it almost disappears. 那么现在指以前的那个的对上帝启示的知识呢，就好像没有什么的适切性。Whereas, 但是 if the present fact of this knowledge is asserted, 但是保罗只要在声称现在的知识这个事实的话呢 then its relevance immediately becomes apparent from the consideration that notwithstanding the knowledge of God's judgment upon those things, they went on doing them and applauding the others who practiced the same. 那么他们认识上帝的适切性呢是很明显的。当我们考虑到他们虽然知道上帝会审判行这事的人，他们继续做，而且赞扬那些做的其他的人，那个关联就很明显了，就是他们现在还是知道的。Number three， 第三个理由 ，the apparent incompatibility of the retention of this knowledge and the degenerate state of blindness is relieved by what Apostle says in verse 21. 从第21节呢，我们就会解决一个问题。这个问题就是，仍然有这方面的知识，但是他们又在一种盲目的败坏中，这两者好像不符合，不能协调。21节解决这个的难题。There, the knowledge of God is clearly represented as coexisting with the perversity of failing to glorify God and give Him thanks. 21节那里呢，我们看到两件事情同时存在的。一方面呢，是很清楚的认识上帝，知道上帝；另外一方面呢，很邪僻的不荣耀上帝，也不感谢他。This latter knowledge of God is more comprehensive than that of the knowledge of God's judicial ordinance, verse 32. 在21节的这个认识神呢，比32节的认识上帝的判定呢，更加的广泛哦。And yet it coexisted with the perversity which constituted the essence of their apostasy. 可是呢，他们又与他们的叛道的本质上的邪僻是共存的。就是说他们知道上帝，现在还是知道，但是却不荣耀上帝，到去敬拜偶像。所以呢，认识神是指现在还是认识的。Number 4， 第四个理由。To eliminate this knowledge from the consciousness of the Gentile nations， 假如我们说这个外邦列国没有这种知识的意识的话呢 ，would be quite contrary to the implications of 2:14-15， 就非常的违背罗马书2章14、15节的含义。Besides, as noted above， 不但如此，正如我们在上文所指出的 ，the historical evidence proves that 历史上的证据证明 the nations were not without knowledge， 这列国并不是没有知识的 ，and had a keen sense of the sequence which God established in His judicial ordinance。他们非常清楚的感觉到上帝在他的法律上的命定所设定的先后的顺序。If this view is adopted， 我们若采用这个观点的话呢 ，then we have an important datum。那么我们有一个很重要的资料 ，namely 这个资料就是 that notwithstanding all the degradation, religious, moral, and mental， 虽然人有宗教上的、道德上的、思想上的各种的所有的败坏 ，delineated in the foregoing verses， 就是前面那几节所勾画出的。The apostle recognizes these same persons， 使徒保罗承认同样这批人呢 ，to have knowledge of God's righteous ordinance， 他们是认识上帝公义的典章、公义的判定的 ，to the effect that the vices perpetrated deserve the pains of hell。结果就是这些当事人所行的恶行呢，是配 领受到地狱的痛苦的。It is not superfluous to set forth the following inferences. 下面我要指出一些的推论，不是多余的。Number one， 第一方面的推论 ：The most degraded of men， 人类中最败坏的人们 ，degraded because judicially abandoned of God， 他们是败坏的，因为上帝在法律上是放弃任凭他们的 ，are not destitute of the knowledge of God and of His righteous judgments， 他们不是完全没有对上帝的认识的，他们不是完全不认识上帝公义的判定、公义的审判的。In terms of 2:14-15, conscience asserts itself. 根据第2章14、15节，人的良心会说话，会有所坚持的。Number 2， 第二方面的推论 ：This knowledge does not of itself prevent these same persons from indulging the sins which they know merit the judgment of God and issue in death。这种的认识本身并没有拦阻这些同样的人放纵去犯那些罪，他们知道这些罪是配受上帝的审判，结果是死的。一方面他们知道，却仍然去犯罪。Number 3， 第三方面的推论 ：The knowledge of God's righteous judgment does not create any hatred of sin, nor does it foster any disposition to repent of it。认识上帝公义的典章本身并不在人里面造成一种对罪的憎恶，也不在人的里面培养出一种心意，要为这些罪悔改。All the preceding clauses in this verse are subordinate to the concluding。前面所有的分句都是最后那个分句之下的，都是次要的。But also consent with them that practice them， 还喜欢或者同意或者赞许别人去行。The iniquity described in the preceding verses is here shown to be consentient and concerted。所以前面那几节所形容的罪行呢，这里给我们看到是人们之间是一致的，他们是同意有所共识的。And it is this mutually consentient feature of the iniquity practiced that elicits the climactic indictment of Gentile degeneracy。就是这种的共识，彼此同意的这个罪孽的本质呢，就引发出对外邦人败坏的最高度的定罪。However severe has been the apostle's delineation of the depravity of men， 使徒保罗前面勾画出人的败坏是那么的严重，不论多么的严重呢， he has reserved for the end the characterization which is most damning of all。 他保留着直到现在最后，他描述出最严厉的定罪。 It is that 就是 of the consensus of men in the pursuit of iniquity， 就是人彼此达到共识，追求犯罪。The most damning condition is not the practice of iniquity, however much that may evidence our abandonment of God and abandonment to sin。 最受咒诅的情况不仅仅是犯罪，虽然这个已经是证明上帝放弃我们，上帝放弃人去犯罪。It is that together with the practice, there is also the support and encouragement of others in the practice of the same。 最受咒诅的情况就是与犯罪之同时呢，还是有别人的支持和鼓励去犯同样的罪。To put it bluntly， 直截了当的说 ，We are not only bent on damning ourselves， 我们不单单有这种为自己带来咒诅这种的倾向 ，but we congratulate others in doing of those things that we know have their issue in damnation。 我们还要恭贺别人去做那些我们知道最后带来沉沦、灭亡、定罪的事情。 We hate others as we hate ourselves。 我们恨恶别人，正如我们恨恶自己。And render therefore to them the approval of what we know merits damnation。 因此呢，我们给他们赞许，就是他们做一些配受咒诅的事情的时候呢，我们赞许他们。 Iniquity is most aggravated when it meets with no inhibition from the disapproval of others。 最严重的罪孽就是他没有任何的约束力，不看到别人的犯罪而不赞许。And when there is collective undissenting approbation， 当人们之间有这种群体的没有意义的赞扬，这个是最严重的罪孽。这里呢，第1章结束，我们下一章开始讲第2章。